In a glass, dimly, yes.
Mr. Sellen's partner was a woman. Today somebody rang up and asked to speak to Mrs. Brown. Not Mrs. Hailsham Brown, just Mrs. Brown.
Yes, I see what you're getting at.
Well, I don't.
A horse chestnut or a chestnut horse. One of them makes all the difference.
Well, Clarissa, you're not delirious or anything, are you, dear?
Somebody killed Oliver. Now, it wasn't any of you three. It wasn't me or Henry. It wasn't Pippa. Thank God. Then who was it?
It was, as I said, the inspector, someone on the outside. Someone followed Oliver down here.
Yes, but why did they? Now, when I left you today at the gate, I came back and in through that window. Oliver was standing near the desk. He was very surprised to see me. He said, "Clarissa, what are you doing here?" I just thought it was an elaborate way of annoying me, but supposed it was just what it seemed. He was surprised. He thought this house belonged to somebody else. He thought the person he'd find here would be the Mrs. Brown who was Mr. Sellen's partner.
Yes, but wouldn't he have known that you and Henry had this house? Wouldn't Miranda have known?
When Miranda has to communicate, she always does it through her lawyers. No, Oliver had no idea he was going to see me. Oh, he recovered pretty quickly and made some excuse that he'd come to talk about Pippa. And then he pretended to go away. But he came back because he...
The hunt's still on. They've looked under all the beds, I gather, and now they're searching the grounds.
Miss Peake, do you remember what Mr. Costello said just before he left?
I haven't the faintest idea.
He said, didn't he, "I came to see Mrs. Brown."
Oh, I believe he did, yes, why?
But it wasn't me he came to see.
Well, if it wasn't you, I don't know who it was.
It was you. You're Mrs. Brown, aren't you?
That's very bright of you. Yes, I am Mrs. Brown.
You're Mr. Sellen's partner. You own this house. You inherited it with the business. You had the idea of getting a tenant whose name was Brown. But in the end, you had to compromise on Hailsham Brown. Now, I don't know why you wanted me in the limelight while you watched. I don't understand the ins and outs.
Charles Sellen was murdered. He got hold of something very valuable. I don't know how, I don't even know what it was. He wasn't always very scrupulous.
So we have heard.
But whatever it was, he was killed for it. And whoever killed him didn't find the thing. Probably because it wasn't in the shop, it was here in this house. I thought that whoever had killed him would come back sooner or later, and I wanted to be on the watch. Therefore, I had to have a dummy, Mrs. Brown.
It didn't worry you that Mrs. Hailsham Brown, a perfectly innocent woman, would be in danger?
Well, I have kept my eye on her, haven't I? So much so that it's annoyed you all at times. And then the other day, when a man came along and offered her a ridiculous price for that desk, I was sure I was on the right track. And yet I'll swear there was nothing in that desk that meant anything at all.
Have you tried the secret drawer?
Secret drawer, is there one?
There's nothing there now. Pippa found the drawer, but there were only some old autographs in it.
Clarissa, I'd rather like to see those autographs again.
Oh, Pippa, where did you... Oh, she's asleep.
Oh, fast asleep. It's all the excitement. Shall I take her up to bed?
No. I think she'll be safer where she is.
Safer?
Safer?
That is what I said. That child said a very significant thing just now.
What did she say?
If you all think back, perhaps you'll realize it.
I don't get it. What did she say?
The policeman coming down here, half awake.
Oh, Rudy, come on. Don't be so damn mysterious. What is all this?
Those autographs, where are they?
Ah. Now, I seem to remember Pippa putting them in that little shell box over there. Quite right. Here they are.
Victoria R., faded brown ink. John Ruskin, that looks authentic to me. Robert Browning. Yes, well, paper not as old as it ought to be.
Really? What do you mean?
Well, I had some experience of invisible ink and that sort of thing during the war. Now, if you wanted to make a secret note or something, it wasn't a bad idea to write it down in invisible ink on a sheet of paper, and then fake an autograph in real ink over the top of it. Now, mix that autograph with other genuine autographs, and nobody would notice the difference, any more than we did.
But what could Charles Sellen have written that was worth £14,000?
It occurred to me, Miss Peake, that it might have been a question of safety.
Safety?
Oliver Costello is suspected of supplying drugs. Charles Sellen was questioned by the drug squad. There's a possible link there, don't you think? Now, a little gentle heat might do the trick. Shall we try the experiment?
Oh, Jeremy, will you get the electric fire from the library?
This takes me back years. I remember writing secret messages with lemon juice when I was a child.
I can't bear it if nothing happens.
Yes, there is something.
There's something coming up.
Let me see.
No, wait a minute, don't joggle me. I mean, we've got it.
What have you got?
A list of 6 names and addresses, distributors in the drug record, I should say, and one of those names is Oliver Costello.
Oliver, so that's why he came. And somebody must have followed him. We'll leave him to tell the police. Come on, Hugo.
This is the most extraordinary thing I've ever heard. You know, you remember once.
Are you coming, Miss Peake?
You don't want me, do you?
Oh, I think so. After all, you were Selden's partner.
Oh, but I knew nothing about the drug business. I handled the antique side. Did all the London buying and selling.
I see.
Hello, Jeremy.
I remember what Sir Roland said, so I thought perhaps we oughtn't to leave Pippa by herself. Her feet seemed a bit cold, so I was just covering them up.
Always excitement has made me terribly hungry. Jeremy, you've eaten them all.
Sorry, I was starving.
I see why you should be. You've had dinner. I haven't.
I haven't had dinner either. I was practicing approach shots. I only went in for dinner just after your telephone call came.
Oh, I see. I see you.
What do you mean?
You.
What do you mean by you?
What were you doing with that cushion when I came into the room?
I was covering Pippa's feet up. They were cold.
Were you? Is that really what you were doing? Or were you going to put that cushion over her mouth?
Clarissa.
I said none of us could have killed him, but one of us could. You. You were on the golf course all alone. You could have come back to the house, in through the library window, which you'd left open. You had your golf club still in your hand. That's what Pippa saw. That's what she meant when she said a golf stick like Jeremy had. She saw you.
It's nonsense, Clarissa.
No, it isn't. Then you went back to the club, rang up the police so that they would come here, find the body, and think it was Henry or I who had killed him.
Absolute rubbish.
It's true. I know it's true. But why? That's why I don't understand. Why?
This.
That's the envelope the autographs were in.
There's a stamp on it. It's what's known as an error stamp. Printed in the wrong colour. One from Sweden was sold last year for £14,300.
So that's it.
The stamp came into Selden's possession. He wrote to my boss about it. I opened the letter. I came down and saw Selden.
And killed him. But you couldn't find the stamp.
No, it wasn't in the shop, so I felt sure it must be here. And tonight I thought Costello had beaten me to it.
So you killed him too. And just now you're going to kill Pippa.
Why not?
I can't believe it.
My dear Clarissa, £14,000 is a great deal of money.
Why are you telling me all this? Do you imagine that I won't go to the police?
They'll never believe you.
Oh, yes, they will.
Besides, you're not going to get the chance. Do you think when I've killed 2 people, I shall worry about killing a third?
All right, Miranda. Give me that envelope. That's all the evidence we need.
A trap. Very clever.
Jeremy Warrender, I arrest you for the murder of Oliver Costello, and I must warn you that anything you say may be taken down and given in evidence.
You can save your breath, Inspector. It was a good gamble.
Take him away.
Forgotten your handcuffs, Mr. Jones?
Are you all right, Clarissa?
Yes. Yes, I'm all right.
I didn't mean to expose you to this.
You knew it was Jeremy, didn't you?
But what made you think about the stamp, sir?
Well, it rang a bell when Pippa showed me this envelope this evening. And then, when I read in Who's True that Sir Lazarus Stein was a stamp collector, my suspicion grew. And finally, when Warrender had the impertinence to pocket this envelope in front of my nose, I felt it was a certainty. Take great care of it, Inspector. You may find it extremely valuable besides being evidence.
It's evidence, all right. A particularly vicious young criminal is going to get his deserts. However, we've still got to find the body.
Oh, that's easy, Inspector. Look in the spare room bed.
Oh, now really, Mrs. Hailsham Brown.
Why does nobody ever believe me? It isn't a spare room bed under the bolster. Miss Peake put it there, trying to be kind.
Trying to be... You know, you haven't made things easier for us tonight. I suppose you thought your husband had done it and were lying to cover up for him. But you really shouldn't do it, madam. You really shouldn't.